Hi, welcome to the Mohua show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Chanda Narang. Chanda is the CEO of Frazer and Haws, a 150-year-old British heritage brand that creates heritage pieces which are put together as art and silver. Chanda took over the workshop of Frazer and Haws in 1991. Back then, it was an export-oriented unit. She decided to go retail in India to explore the market for sterling silverware and certified jewelry. And today, the silver market is booming in India, and Frazer and Haws has several showrooms across the country. The clientele includes the Prince of Wales, the Maharaja of Nepal, and other heads of states and notable families around the world. Welcome, Chanda, in today's podcast.
Thank you so much, Mahua. Thank you for having me.
So, Chanda, let's just go back into the past. What got me very interested was this whole thing of reinvention, because you were a filmmaker earlier, and then to get into the line of silver jewelry and products like this. When did that entire shift happen for you? Because there are so many women who are currently our listeners, but they don't know how to make that shift, how to reinvent themselves. They're jaded with their jobs, they're jaded with their lives. What are those tips that you would tell them? What is it that you did?
Shifting sands. That's what our life is about. And I want all women to know that and accept that life is always going to be shifting sands. But if you allow your fear to stop you, you will get nowhere. If there is something that you want to do, you feel like doing, and you feel it strongly enough, just go ahead and do it. The only person that is stopping you, this is for men and women, the only person that is stopping you is you yourself. It's called fear. Such a thing does not exist. It is an invention of our mind. So when it comes to something that I've learned in my life, the shifting sands of my life have taken me from science. I love science. I wanted to be a doctor and a neurosurgeon, actually. And shifting sands took me to being a filmmaker. I was a documentary filmmaker. It was very frightening to start that first because I knew nothing very much about media or filmmaking. And there were a lot of very, very mean men out there who wanted to make sure that this young woman, so stays in her place. Well, I stayed in my place for a while, but I learned a lot. And I moved with the time. Opportunities came my way. And frightened or not frightened, I picked them up and I moved with them. And when I did, then the universe helped me. People helped me. People came and they actually taught me a lot. That is really what kept me going in my career. So I've never ever stopped understanding and accepting that life is just shifting sands. You're walking on a desert. The sand is going to shift. But you know what? Keep walking. Keep walking. It's courage that is in all of us. That is what propels us forward. We do it for all our friends. We do it for our family and our children. Why don't we do it for ourselves?
I think as women, most of us, we overlook ourselves and we're all the time trying to find, a better version of ourselves in the relationships around us. And that holds true for so many women across the world that, if you're a good mother, you think you're a good person and you put value onto the relationships around you. Now, when you said that you studied medicine, and how did your parents react when you did such a rebellious act of getting into filmmaking, which is really a very, very male-dominated space at the time when you were, doing this sort of work? So how did they react to you?
My parents have been fully confused where I've been concerned because I'm part rebellious and part a wonderful daughter. So they don't know which bracket to put me in. If I was just simply a rebellious, horrible daughter, then they could put me in that bracket. But since I keep doing nice things also, then they can't put me in this bracket either. So my shifting stance, moving from medicine or science to filmmaking to silver, I think they've just accepted it. And I'll tell you one thing, parents normally do. No matter what they may say, if you want to strike on your own, you want to be rebellious, you want to shift grounds, just go ahead and do it. No matter what your parents say, there will always be some kind of advice that will keep you on the straight and narrow, but at least trust yourself enough to know that it's not always what your parents say that's right. It's also this intuitive, instinctive voice within yourself that is right. And that is the one that you have to come to trust and love.
Talking about films, share with our listeners some of the experiences that you recall that have been a very landmark point in your life when you said that you were done with it and you wanted to do something different. When was that saturation point that you reached with filmmaking?
I think the saturation point after making films for 14 years was my search for truth. So, documentaries was all about searching for the truth amongst varied points of view, which never met up. So, I thought if I collected enough points of view and I put it out there on a wide enough audience, somewhere the truth will emerge like a lotus out of a dirty pond. Right? Now, after 12 or 14 years of making documentary films, as varied as social, political, Tehri Dam, Ram Janmabhoomi, the coal miners mafia, I started working on the Shatush documentary, which is a Shatush shawl. And it took me all over, Nepal and Tibet and Kashmir But I found that the more closer I got to the truth, the more elusive the truth was. I was so jumbled up to where the truth actually starts and where it ends. It had no point. There was no point or beginning of the truth, and there was no end to the truth. Truth lies, call it what you will. But what we think we know, the opinions we have, however well intentioned, actually have no beginning, no end to it. They really don't. They're pointless. They have no point to them. When I finally started seeing that while I enjoyed what I was doing thoroughly, but there was no big purpose to it. The big purpose that I had been chasing for 12 years or 14 years of my life of making a change was only the change in myself. Nothing else changed but myself. The realization that there is no need to change the world. It's fine the way it is. There will always be different points of views. There will always be likes and dislikes, love and good and bad, love and hate. It's fine. I mean, that is really the tapestry out there. And you can't step out of it. It's there. So just enjoy it.
So maybe you would call that being, you're getting more mature about looking at things. But because when you started films, maybe it was with with a vision to wanting to change the viewpoint of people and get them closer to what was happening, especially these political and activism films that you spoke about just now. So there must have been a bug inside you that bothered you about all of that. And was it this that you suddenly came to a space in your head where you said that I need to change my own viewpoint and the rest of it can just go, because those are also truths for people, right? So for my audience, maybe, it would be because we have a lot of youngsters. How would you explain that entire shifting sands?
Mahua, I'll tell you, I started because I hate people lying to me. So I grew up picking up on lies, and all kids, all youngsters can pick up very fast on who's lying to them and for what reason. And that is one thing that I did not want around me. I didn't want a bunch of lies. So whenever somebody lies to one, the only choice you have is you either walk away or then you fight it.
You confront the lie.
You confront the lie.
Yeah.
When you confront the lie, then there is some evidence of the lie backing off. Another perspective comes there. When there are two perspectives, then the lie itself, the false itself has to peel away. Because what is a lie? Falsehood is, this is the truth. Falsehood is, this is the truth. But so many things out there are not the truth. They are falsehood posing as the truth. So when you face up to it with another perspective, the false has to back off as the only truth. And that is what I was trying to do, to bring out perspectives up front so that which is staring us in the face as the God-spoken truth can back off and allow other perspectives to come in, more voices to come in. Raise the voices so the false can look away. That was what my endeavor was. And that is the thing that I was very, very passionate about. And I hope every person, young, old, every person has that ability to take their own perspective and their own opinion and face that with an opinion which is opposite to theirs. You don't have to fight it. You can just put it out there like a signboard.
You mean acceptance, right?
I don't mean acceptance. I mean, if you feel something is wrong, say it. Say it. Say it nicely. You have an opinion, you have an intuitive insight, which is very, very strong and very sincere, very powerful and correct. Let that intuitive insight speak for yourself. and have the courage to speak it out of your mouth. No point just feeling something is wrong. That which is wrong means there is something wrong. Find the words, the correct words, to somehow come out of your mouth and put it out there. Don't be scared of doing that. You may get laughed at, you may get derided, you may get, even abused. That's the kind of world we're living in. But don't back away. Because if you back away, I'm not asking you to fight. I'm asking you to just take your own truth and put it out there. And then leave it. Then drop it and walk away. Your job is done. That's all.
But looking at the media world, I mean, I don't know how much of that would be very practical, because there are a lot of people who would work for money, and it does not necessarily for everybody be passion. There would be places where it matters to them, that the income that they make, and the creative world is a very, very unorganized sector. Where a lot of people don't get paid, a lot of people get cheated, and so this whole level of awareness is from within, that one needs to understand, grow. So at which age, how old were you? If you could just like give us a little, because youngsters, I don't think about these things. We're just gunning. I remember myself, I was just gunning to get bigger and bigger. I mean, I was a journalist in Delhi, and broadcasting was happening, and at that time Times had started their Times television, and there was Vinod Dua, who had done his own stuff, and I knew that would be the next thing. But of course, life had to take different turns, and for me to be sitting opposite you today here and doing this podcast. So, but when you're young, I don't know if you really look at these perspectives, that is very, very important to look at. uh, so what would you tell the youngsters? How is it that they would navigate that path between earning money and also not getting caught in the trap?
Don't take it personally. Never take it personally. That's it. Just inculcate that in yourself from the word go. Don't overthink it and don't take it personally. Your mantra should be who cares and so what. Just stay with that. It's not your problem. If somebody else is misbehaving, somebody else is doing nepotism, and somebody else is doing whatever, you have to do what you have to do. You have to earn, you have to make your money. Do it and drop it. Just do not even go into the personal element of it. It's not personal for you, it's not personal for them.
So now let's just come back to Frazer and Haws. So how did this happen? And again, like for this is another totally different area of work. And how did you get into reinventing yourself here? There are so many women who are struggling today, they don't know what to do. They're really caught, like I said right in the start, and I've met so many women who say that, oh, I don't like the job that I'm doing. I don't like what I'm doing. Oh, I think I have this in me, but I don't know how to do it. So a little about Frazer and Haws, and how, you had the courage to take up your own calling.
Shifting sands again?
Shifting sands again.
Shifting sands again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think life is going to make you shift sands anyway. So I want to tell all the women, I want to tell all the youngsters that there is so much inspiration. The youth, what I'm seeing in Bangalore and I'm seeing in places around here, there's an incredible amount of energy, and there's so much happening here to free your mind. If you can free your mind of the shifting sand conditioning, then you actually don't mind your job. You're unhappy in your job because you can't move. You're unhappy in your job because you feel that you are stuck. But you're never stuck. Promise you. You feel you're stuck. You think you can't move because you need money, you overthink it, you take it personally. I've spent 10 years here, I've spent 12 years here, I've spent 2 years here, oh, I want to move in 6 months. But in Frazer and Haws, it was a silver company. I was a filmmaker. What is the connection between making films and trying to run after quote unquote truths and opinions to making handcrafted silver? Very beautiful handcrafted silver with one of the oldest silversmiths in England, 300 years old. You're trying to reinvent a 300 year old heritage?
How did they react to that when you told them that you wanted to reinvent and bring about storytelling in silver making that was so staid?
So my principals derided me totally, and it hurt. I have to tell you that. So the principal said that there is not enough market in India for branded silver, apart from donga, katori, thalis, and things like that. So she is never going to succeed. So let her do what she wants to do. She has enthusiasm, she has ideas. So let's loosen the leash. And we need somebody to handle silver in India because losing money hand over fist. So she can't lose more money. She can't make it worse. So in that sense, I came into the field where I said, fine, if I can't make it worse, then let me make it different. Let me first of all turn around and say silver is not for dowry. I don't believe in dowry. So throw the dowry thing out of the window. No dowry, no silver, no thali, no donga, no katori. You want to buy it from your house? Go ahead and buy it. You're certainly not going to give it to your daughter unless she wants it. The second thing is that what is it today that everybody in India wants? They want a story. They want an art expression. They don't want to look at silver as something which is, like I said, traditional or something which is serious. No, no, no. We don't. We want to take everything that is serious and we want to make it irreverent. So that irreverence, I feel, gives you the humor, it gives you the courage, and it gives you that slight edge over the others. And that is what I held on to. I said, bring in humor into something which everybody takes so seriously. Silver, everyone takes so seriously. Let's make it into little doggies, and let's make it into little cats and little monkeys, and let's take terracotta and clay and put a little nose made of silver and make little ears made of silver. Let's just play with silver. And if it doesn't sell, we'll melt it. But let's at least try to express art. Take the humblest of all materials, which is clay, which is mud. Take mud and put a bit of silver on it. Give it a shape, give it a form, give it a story. We started with a modern version of Panchatantra and put it out there and see how the market reacts. And it reacted amazingly well. From the time we started in 1997, it was something that even our team wasn't expecting. It was a young team, a very, very young team, very enthusiastic, ready to prove and ready to fail. And I told them all, I said, dude, we get this wrong, we are all out of jobs. We are shut down. That's it. We are shut down. There's nowhere to go. Somebody will have to lead us somewhere from here. Khana pina band. They say, fine, we're with you. Let's do it. Because if we do the same boring state old thing, then I'm sorry, we will not be able to digest the food that we're earning. We would rather earn less and digest what we're earning than to earn more and not be able to digest it. I said, that's my kind of language. Let's go for it. So we just took everything irreverent, totally, even erotic. We even took eroticism. Everything which was irreverent, we put into our silver. And it worked. It simply worked because it blew the minds of people away that we could actually turn around and break such a strong, conventional, traditional concept of silver. Since then, we haven't looked back. That's all we've been doing since then. Inventing, reinventing, reinventing. Every time we remember we are becoming stodgy and old, we suddenly, start becoming irreverent. I said, do the most irreverent thing you can think of. It's okay if we fail. But break out of this conditioned, we are settled, comfortable mode. Keep moving. Just keep moving. Don't rest in your laurels. Oh, but we did very well in that exhibition. Oh, but we did very well in your collection. I said, when, yeah? That was yester news. What are you doing now? What are we doing now? What new ground are we breaking now? Get your inspiration from now. Get your inspiration from Greece. Get your inspiration from Syria. Get your inspiration from, in all the hellos of the world. Go look at the Kama Sutra. I don't care. But get me that inspiration, because finally I'm going to tell you whether it is art or it is rubbish. That much confidence I have that I have an eye where I can separate art from what is just not simply making the grade. You try. You try. If you can't make the grade, it's not a problem. Try again. You will make the grade. Promise you. That's it.
And how did people react around you when to take on such a state brand, like I said? So friends were supportive of you and people were supportive of you, or are you the type who walks all alone on this entire unsettling the dust?
I love the way they put it, unsettling the dust. Well, yes, lots of dust has been unsettled and lots of dust is still being unsettled. And it's still a question of dropping what a lot of people say. You hear from one ear and take it out the other.
So, did you face criticism?
Tremendous. Yes. Particularly from our British counterpart who like pure silver. Silver is to be revered like God, and we were irreverent. But the interesting thing is that a few years after we started, England started making mixed material. England started making leather and silver and glass and silver. England started making porcelain and silver. So they followed us. For all the criticism we faced about not staying with pure traditional silver techniques and pure silver products, when we started making mixed material and became so successful, the English followed and then the French followed. So we changed the trend. We, bunch of youngsters who dared to be irreverent, we changed the trend of the way silver is being put together and retailed in Europe, in England.
That's a huge. I mean, it's a huge task because they are so set in their ways, and I don't think they look at the Indian art market with very good light. Yeah, because I've heard a lot of artists, and I have interacted with them, and they have a huge snob,
The
value.
English will never accept us as
Never,
equal.
ever.
Never,
Yes,
never.
yes.
They can patronize us
Yeah.
and say, oh, congratulations, wonderful Vedas, Vedanta, very good. But they cannot take us as their equal.
Yes. Oh, they never ever will, I think, and not in a really long time. But Chanda, I have to ask you because like when I'm sitting opposite you, I can see somebody who's very strong and somebody who's very, very, is very sure of herself. Did this ever cost you as a woman?
Yes, yes. Let me tell you, I've had my share of breakdowns. I've been rock bottom. I have huge sympathy and empathy for those who I meet who hit rock bottom. It's a very lonely and it's a very scary place. I've been there and I've got myself out of that. And I would say big hug and lots of love and lots of courage and lots of blessings for anybody who is right now in that place where they're confused, they're scared, they're lonely, they're alone, they don't know where to go, and they're depressed. Just know that it won't last. Trust me, it will not last. It will change. Just flow. Don't be frightened of it. Just flow with it. I've been there. I am a strong woman, yes. We are people who are going to fall. It's called acid grace. When you fall, it's some kind of grace. You fall so low that you suddenly let go of all your ego. Because there is nothing left to hold on to. All the stories about yourself is gone. All your images about yourself have gone. You have to let go. Because that's how broken you are. You're shattered. You're in bits and pieces. You're waiting for someone to put you together. And that opportunity does come. But bit by bit, you're put together and you start rising again. So I understand what it's like, but don't compromise on your principles. Because the one thing that keeps you strong, even when you're falling into 100 bits, are your principles and the truth, which is yourself. Don't let that go. Don't compromise. I believe no compromise, no sellout. Little bit of badmashi is fine. Nautanki and work shirk to earn more money is fine. No problem. Like Krishna can be as badmash as you want. But within yourself, be true to yourself. No compromise, no sellout. And I swear to God, when you go through a bad time, that is the one thing that will get you out of it.
That actually is growth.
That's acid grace. So grace then comes and pulls you up on the wings of the angel.
Thank you so much for being on today's podcast. And I am totally teary-eyed listening to you and talking to you. It's been such an honor.
Thank you so much. Big hug to you. It's been wonderful being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mahua.
To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk imandari se.